Ready Check Radio.
What's up, Internet? It's Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. That means it's time for Ready Check Radio's The Relic Grind, Final Fantasy XIV Square Enix podcast. Oh, yeah. 6.2 is here. We've been playing it. We've been checking it out. We're going to give you our reviews today. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, a.k.a. Magic Man, as always, and welcome to episode 79 of The Relic Grind. Hope you're enjoying your week. Hope you're enjoying 6.2. No spoilers. Was there anything really to spoil?
There's some spoilery stuff.
Some minor stuff. Yeah, it was all pretty minor, but I guess, yeah. So we'll try to avoid spoilers, but in my estimation, there was like nothing that wasn't pretty much guessed right out of the gate anyway. If you're watching on live with us, twitch.tv/ReadyCheckRadio, thank you so much. Chime in chat with your opinions, and sometime if you can make it live, come on over. ReadyCheckRadio.com has all the socials in the upper right-hand corner: Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, all the distribution platforms, wherever you're watching. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Give it a like, a thumbs up, a review, a comment, a subscribe, whatever it is on that channel. We definitely appreciate it. Every little bit helps us grow. Joining me to go over all the 6.2 goodness, Mr. Chris Montoya, a.k.a. Tarkoth. What's up, sir?
Greetings, programs. It's going pretty well. Well, you know what? This patch really, I just have zero interest in this patch and the MSQ and stuff. It's whatever. So much so that I've had to catch up on some light reading as well. Very, very light reading.
Oh.
Encyclopedia Eorzea's finally came in.
Oh, about damn time.
Yeah. They're very pretty.
Yeah. I knew when you whispered me that in game, I knew you were going to say it on the show too. I didn't like it either time. Also on the line,
I got
Adam.
Zing the first time. Come on.
Zing. Adam Lane, Kronos. What's up, sir?
Not much. I didn't know where that one was going. But yeah, no, I've been having a good time with 6.2. I've been staying up pretty late trying to do Island Sanctuary stuff. So
yeah, good times.
Yeah, we'll get to all of it. We're going to kind of just like take it in the order that it appears in the patch notes, I think is the way that makes the most sense. And again, I mean, fair warning, there's not like any big mega expansion spoiler type stuff in the patch, but there are, I guess, what could be perceived by some as spoilers. So like a caution. We're going to try and keep it spoiler free, but I think our definitions of what may not be a spoiler on this particular patch, your mileage may vary depending on who you are.
Are we allowed to talk about what the trial is? I feel like we should at least make that known, because some people see that as a spoiler.
Yeah, well, that's like one of the quote unquote bigger ones in my mind. That like we all guessed that it was going to be Scarmiglione as the dungeon boss, which is in fact the case. And you kind of basically were given that in the trailer and in the live letter, but then maybe coming back as the first trial. It is not, but it's kind of like if I told you the trial was not Scarmiglione, then you would say, okay, which of Fiend was it then?
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna
I
think we're gonna have to spoil that one, just like who it is. Just so we can adequately talk about it.
Yeah, I just figure we should probably make that clear at the beginning, so that way if like you don't want to know what it is, you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, if you don't want to know, I mean, it's really early too, right? I mean, it's just boom, boom, boom. You're right into the content of the MSQ. So yeah, when we get there, we will say who it is. You got a 1 in 3 shot of guessing who it is if you know anything about Final Fantasy IV and you've been watching trailers and you've been watching live letters. You know you have a 1 in 3 shot of guessing.
If you looked at the PlayStation 5 trophies when the patch went live, the game told
you already know. Yeah, then you already know.
Yeah.
The trophies spoil everything.
They always do. So let's talk about it, gents. The MSQ itself. I mean, we kind of didn't know exactly where things were going to start to go. We knew we were going to the Void. We knew we were going to look for a dragon that's totally boned. And yeah, and hey, there's a man in black or a knight in black. And everybody knew it was Golbez. What's up, newest girl? Welcome to chat. We knew it was Golbez, so we knew the 4 Archfiends were going to be present. We kind of saw those all teased. So, like, no surprises out of the gate as far as where the MSQ was going. And honestly, I think by the time I was done with the MSQ, there was no surprises on where it had gone. It went exactly as I expected. I guess maybe there was one surprise in that they're kind of leaving it up in the air right now on whether or not his sister is still alive. She has been alive, but things are done in like flashback or referenced in past tense, so you're not quite sure. So maybe they're going to have her live. I don't know. I still think, obviously Golbez, Bone Dragon, that's going to be in there at some point, Tark, right? Whether or not she's in fact alive or dead.
In the I guess, do we want to spoil the story? Like, the way it's set up, I think we might have a chance of saving her, as crazy as that sounds. Considering she's been in the 13th for 500,000 years, something like that, since the days of Allagan.
I think it's over 1,000.
Yeah.
Oh, you would think that she's, really screwed. She's going to be the Shadow Dragon for Golbez. But the way they have it set up, it's just like, and maybe we can save her, and she leads us to.
Yeah, they keep playing with the tenses,
land.
In language. So not quite sure. But Kronos, what did you think of the MSQ from top to bottom? We'll let you go first.
So I liked it a lot, even though I agree the big beats were somewhat predictable. We got a lot more information on like just how the Void functions, which is kind of cool.
Yes, and I don't think it's a spoiler to say we do get introduced to a new character.
I think. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
It's not technically a new. We have come across this character. We just didn't know them in the incarnation that you will see them in the MSQ. So it's
that was one of the surprises.
Not a totally brand new character. But think of this character as the Void's version of Rain in.
There you go.
In the first, right? Yeah. It's kind of like our conduit, our helpful hand. There's some differences. I mean, I'm being very 30,000-foot view with it, but that's a nice way to think about this particular character.
I think they're trying to be really misleading with her, and
I think they are too.
The more I thought about her character and specifically her name, which I'm not going to say. If you tie that back into the game that they're referencing, that could have some things, which is kind of interesting to think about. So I think she's going to be really important, at least for this expansion, but maybe not. Maybe for these patch cycles in this expansion. I don't know where she'll be after that. I'm not sure.
I will say that she is the most interesting character I think I've seen them put forward in quite a while.
Yeah. No, she's really cool. I liked her a lot. So
there's a very a Tark, there's everything's like light and dark in Final Fantasy, right? I mean, just historically it is. This is light, this is dark, this is good, this is bad. This character is very, I want to say amoral, but amoral would be more of a decision to not recognize good and evil. And the way they're portraying this character, there is no good, there is no evil. There's just make a bargain for whatever you need, stick to your bargain, and call it a day. I'll do something for you, but you got to do something for me, or I'm not helping. And not saying that, well, it would be bad or evil to not help the Warrior of Light in what the Warrior of Light is at. Doesn't matter. I very much like playing on the ambiguity of good and bad and light and dark with this character, rather than everything being so cut and dry, right? The light is good, dark is bad. I like this.
Absolutely. She's I feel she's my favorite of the main characters now, if she is incorporated as a main character. I'm fascinated with how this character will grow and learn, I guess is a good word for it as well. because they're just, they're a product of their environment for thousands of years as well. So they've had to survive in their world, and you get to see how, they come across it. It's just, she just is and is trying to survive and go by her rules and doesn't know anything else. And I like the fact that she's trying to grow in that role. So I'm excited where they bring her forth in the future.
Yeah, basically 1.5, 2 quests in, bang, you're in the dungeon, Fell Court of Troya.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that happens very, very early. What did you think about the dungeon itself, Kronos?
Yeah, visually it's awesome. It's kind of nice to see like some different like kind of pathing. It's still a Final Fantasy 14 dungeon, end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
The bosses are pretty interesting, specifically Scar. Scar's pretty cool. The middle boss, she has some like cool things that like we kind of haven't seen. The first boss, I'm never really a big fan of like
I hated the first
bad
boss.
bosses.
First boss was like,
Yeah, I hated the first boss.
But like, I don't know, I like the aesthetic of it. I think it's really cool. The gear looks cool too. And I like the last boss. So yeah, for me, it's like really hard to get super hype on a dungeon after like my first playthrough, anyways, in this game. So it's like,
yeah,
they're always good.
Dungeons.
Yeah, I mean they're always good. They're aesthetically pleasing. They always give pretty cool nods, But
This girl trashed the boss. It basically was. First boss was cool, something different. I'm not a fan of like horde mode type games, and so horde mode type bosses just don't do it for me. I will say that although I may not have liked the encounter itself, I really freaking like that monster model.
Yeah.
The little ones and the big one at the end. I really, really, and we saw those in screenshots during the live letters before, so it wasn't anything new. I really, really like that model. The second boss I thought was interesting. And then Scar, I thought was a fantastic fight for a dungeon boss. I thought it was a really, really good fight as a dungeon boss. Now, you had mentioned pathing. There is no alternate route
no,
here or anything like this. But I don't know. Did you guys go exploring?
No, but I guess I just meant more of like walking up the stairs and stuff and go behind the throne.
Yeah, it is very dynamic in the environment. And I like gothic stuff like that anyway. I'm a big fan of Hawk Manor. In World of Warcraft, I was a big fan of the Shadowlands raid, Castle Nathria. Maybe not every fight, but that design. Karazhan is still one of my favorite raids.
Oh, Karazhan's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm really into that gothic stuff anyway. If you look around, there are what could be used for alternate paths. Like specifically, there was one room, I think it was after the first boss. You go up the steps and you cut a left up the stairs. If you cut a right up the stairway, you just hit a locked door, right? If you cut the left up the steps and you go in that first room, I think that's the room. When you walk in, the exit is basically straight across the room to your right. But if you look to your left, on the map, it shows a little out jut, just a little boop, boop, like there might be a path there. If you go to that corner of the room, there's a bunch of like folding room dividers that you would put down or screens to change behind in old black and white movies, right? Those types of things. There's a bunch of them sitting there, and you can peek up the steps, and there's a door there. What I thought was really interesting, though, is that the door, you can see underneath it. There's a gap where you can see that there is some type of light-colored texture behind it. Now, whether or not they actually start doing anything with these alternate paths, it was clearly not just a flat textured wall. It was built as a door. Whether it opens or not at some point, I don't know. Whether
and maybe this they give this the hard mode treatment. Troya Revisited, and we have a different layout. That'd be cool.
Scar was really cool. What'd you think, Tark, of the entire dungeon?
So I don't know about you guys, but I did it in trust first because we got a certain change on an individual, and I wanted to use him and in the fights and get a little bit more dialogue. There seemed to be quite a bit of dialogue. I felt it was a good story beat having all the characters in the trust. It kind of fleshed things out. Maybe made the first boss a little bit more interesting because you're not just wiping the floor like a full group would. But yeah, the first boss is just bleh. The second boss with their mechanics was pretty cool. And how do you not like Scar and the music and just the overall ambiance of
The
where
entire
you're fighting? The whole thing.
MSQ, if you are
good
listening
music.
to your own music or watching it, the entire MSQ
Stop.
all the way through, stop, turn your volume back up. I mean, my volume's always been up because the Endwalker music itself has just been incredible from top to bottom since the expansion launched. But it is so good. Some of the variants on like the love theme, and I mean, there's just so much good music here. I also liked this dungeon. Really did it for me. If it was more like we've talked about before, like we're alternate paths, and obviously we're not going to get it here. That's going to be the variant and the Criterion dungeon for that stuff. So I can't really bitch about it. We're going to get that stuff. It's just not in Felcourt of Troya for the MSQ. Fine, I get it. If I take that gripe aside, because you're going to give me something later, this dungeon really did it for me. Even though the first boss wasn't my favorite thing to fight. It just really did it for me. Then something they did afterwards really sealed this one for me in the fact that the dungeon landscape, the dungeon environment became our kind of hub where we were doing our MSQ stuff as well. It wasn't just go in the dungeon, get it done, and then move on. They actually used that as far as the storytelling goes. Now, I will say, I don't think it was well used.
No.
Yeah, I think it was pretty bad, actually.
Because all it was used for was a lot of start at the top, walk all the way back to the bottom, walk
then all
to
the way
the
back.
middle, walk to the top, walk to the middle.
Can I ask you a question really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
How long did it take you to figure out before you could mount up in there?
You can't mount in the whole thing, can you?
You can mount in the whole thing.
I didn't even try once I got inside.
Most people, I feel like everybody in my FC was like, "Man, this sucks. I'm walking everywhere." I'm like, "You can mount." They're like, "You can mount."
I knew you could up on the the walkways where the gardens.
Yeah, you can mount.
I did not even try to mount up inside. Just I'm so conditioned.
No, everybody was. I think
everybody.
Yeah.
Newest girl in chat, you can mount up.
Yeah, see, I'm telling you, people didn't know. I didn't know until someone told me. Like, I was already doing it for like 10 minutes. I was like, man, this sucks. And then they're like, you can mount. And I'm like, okay, well, this sucks a little less, but it still sucks. But yeah,
I was very excited that we were going to still be questing in that area because I loved the environment and I loved the music. So I'm happy that they did this. I'm not happy with the execution. It seemed like, we don't have anywhere else for this stuff to take place, so let's just walk back and forth a little bit. So I'm hopeful that, though, maybe that does like open up something down the road where they start experimenting with other stuff, because that's what Yoshi P and team do, right? They try something like this, and I still wish we were done, Kronos, with the NPC follow quests. I am so over those. I have been since the expansion launched.
Yeah, I have too. At least they've made them a little better where you could like mount and sprint and teleport. But yeah. I mean, I get it. They're for at least like I can kind of skip them a little bit now. Like I could kind of go around, but I'm not a big fan of them either. Like Endwalker for me was like, it was too much. But for the people that like to like take their time, talk to all the NPCs and like stop at all the spots,
get that lore.
I get it.
Get it.
But I'm glad. But at least I'm glad I can like take Aetherites now. Like, so
yeah, and it was like purposely they were like, you're not going to be able to teleport here, and it was like, oh come on, just sprint, come on. By the way, I'm going to jump ahead on the sprint thing. If the Island Sanctuary sprint cooldown is less than the duration of sprint on me, just make sprint the default speed in Island Sanctuary, please.
Yeah, there's no point.
Is it bad that I'm always in Island Sanctuary on Machinist and I just hit Peloton? I just keep it a Peloton. I don't even want to hit the sprint button because I don't want to bind it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Newest girl, there is a person that'll take you from the bottom to the top, yes. But then, unfortunately, most of that stuff happens right in the middle at the throne room. Most of the quests there, once you meet our guest in the dungeons. pretty much from there, you are taken to our friend's abode. You learn some things about the Void, all of which, obviously, we will not dissect on this show. We will let you learn about those things and what's going on and who's where and how long they have been there. But next up is basically the trial. And so, yes, give us 5-10 minutes here. If you don't, skip ahead a little bit, I'll give you a little double-handed wave like this. If you don't want to know who it is, that's really the only spoiler. Again, you probably had a 1 in 3 shot at guessing who it was anyway, whether it was going to be Cognazzo, Rubicante, or Barbricia. And so here we go. It's Barbricia. And
can I say one thing about the names real quick?
Yeah.
Like, they're heavy leaning into the Italian on everything. It got me a little like, I had to reprogram my brain to repronounce.
No, it's like the Titus thing. I'm just going to say it the way I've always said it.
Oh, you guys have never... is it Scarmiglione or is it Scarmiglione?
Scarmiglione is what I call him.
Oh, you put the G in there. Okay.
Yeah. And then it's like Barbaricia, not Barber. I don't.
Barbaricia.
Like what Tark said. It's definitely like the Italian spin on it, but it's just.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It always has been.
It's
though, you
hard.
dumb Americans.
Well, hold on now. You can't. Okay. How old was I when Final Fantasy IV? Like, give me a break here, okay?
8, 9, I think I was. Like,
yeah.
So that's who it is. Now, can I say something about this, though? Because this was something I was worried about. And I don't know if either of you kind of felt like this, too. We never really talked about it on a show. But knowing that we were going to go into a Golbez and 4 Archfiends storyline for a couple of patches here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of worried about how do you do the 4 Archfiends without it feeling really like you were doing Ifrit, Garuda, Leviathan, and Titan fights with different models over again. Like, how can you make Earth Titan different from Scarmiglione, right? How do you make Garuda, and this was the one in particular, Garuda and Barbricia I was like, they're both sexy female character models. They have been historically always that. In one form or another, their win. Like, how do you make those fights different enough so that you're not just like, oh, this is a reskinned, updated Garuda fight? And I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say, they pulled it off. Pulled it off.
It's so good.
They pulled that off. I thought this was a tremendous trial. If you have not done the extreme version of it yet, you're in for a treat. I did not think, though, it was incredibly difficult.
Have y'all both beat the extreme?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you beat the extreme, Tark?
Let's see. 5 groups and about 6 hours of working with those 5 groups. Like, I've seen Enrage a couple times. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. It's those other people, and then if you don't beat it, you can't join those duty complete party finders. It's always, we're on PlayStation, still trying to figure it out, and phase 2. Let's get to haircut, and I'm like, oh my god, I just want to get this done.
It's funny. A lot of times when that wall happens, your best bet's almost to like join a more cognitive like fresh group that will actually like listen to stuff, and then but it just depends. Sometimes you get lucky.
I'm going in with my group, my Savage group tonight, and we're gonna farm out the weapons. So I'll get it done tonight.
We've certainly, in my estimation, we have certainly had harder Chronos.
It's
as
hard,
far as
though.
difficulty. I'm not saying it's a pushover. It's not a total go in and face roll it.
I think the hardest part of it is not really like, if you like pick out the mechanics here and there, they're not like super hard. It's how fast she does them.
Yeah.
It's like literally you have no break.
Frenetic pace.
It's like mechanic. The only break you get is like one transition, really. Because the other transition is actually pretty fast. And then the rest of it, she just shotguns. And it's just, you have to be like, and she also has like an older style thing of like, she has a couple mechanics with no cast bar. So like, if you don't know that, or you're not ready, especially like as a healer, that like certain things are coming, people are going to die. So, but no, I think it's really fun. I think it's one of the best trials they've ever made, honestly, as an extreme.
Yeah,
and as a normal probably too.
I loved it. The normal version was very cool. I thought it was like we didn't wipe, so we had obviously no problem there, and I pugged it, you know, it was just whatever. And then the extreme, it took some work. It took a little bit of work. It definitely isn't the hardest we've come across. I thought the fight was extremely interesting. The character model for her is just amazing. It's an absolutely wonderful character model.
Yeah.
Then from there, I mean, that's pretty much the end of the MSQ, right? There's a few more quests to progress the story, but content-wise, you're not really doing much besides walking around, picking up an apple, talking to some people, and a lot of back and forth, taking some people on tours of Razat-Han. All in all, I'm gonna say I was actually disappointed when I picked up the quest and it said buried memory. I was like, oh, we're done. I really wanted this to keep going. I was like, I don't want to wait 4 months for the next bit of this story.
This is the first time we got a title card though in the beginning, right?
The title
right?
splash that showed up in the lower right. Yeah,
that was kind of cool. I hope they keep doing that.
All in all, I loved the MSQ. I thought it was really well done. I was engaged. I was reading it all. Newest Girl says 6-1 had one. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
And man, I didn't want it to end. Literally, when I picked up the last quest and saw the name, I was like, oh, damn it. This is it. Son of a, now I got to wait 4 months for this stuff. That said, there were some other moments. I'm going to jump. I'm trying to figure out how I could talk about this. There is another quest, okay, that you can't do until you finish the MSQ. Did both of you do this one? With the hecties? With the hecties?
No.
Yeah, it's like right outside. It's right at the 8th right after you finish the MSQ.
Oh, at the end of the MSQ, there is a scene where in the background you see a hecti walk across Razat-Han's floor. Okay. That knight that is chasing it will give you a quest. And if you haven't done it, it is very, very... Go do it. Go do it. I don't want to give away too much here, but Kronos, since you've done it, I will say this. I thought that quest, although boring as far as what you do, you just walk around Razat-Han and talk to a few hectis, that the story beats in that quest were phenomenal.
Yeah, it's definitely worth doing.
Where they talk a little bit about Golbez and his recruiting of Scarmiglione, of Barbaricia's past. That was a dark fucking cutscene, man. That cutscene was dark. If you haven't done that, go do it. I
have it on my screen now.
Yeah, absolutely worth it. Absolutely. Unfortunately, that too ends up being something that'll be continued in 6.3. You don't finish that entire thing, but man, oof, it was so good. Oh, Kronos, who are you yelling at, Kronos?
Sorry, my girlfriend was asking me a question.
All in all, I got to give the MSQ like a 9. I thought it was really well done. The story beats were great. I got a couple of gripes with like the first boss not liking it, a couple of quests that seemed really, all right, this is just busy work. I liked that they used the Fell Court of Troya as a landscape to play in. I don't like the way it was actually used, but maybe that's something they'll get better at. I give it a 9 out of 10, Tark. Where do you hit?
If I had to grade it, I'm pretty much right there with you. Yeah, the first boss sucked. The pacing overall for the MSQ was great, except for the forward and back inside Troya, the zone itself. I did not know you could mount until I made one whole trek through, and then my chat told me, hey, you can mount in there. I'm like, oh, okay, that helps. I had 2 surprises, and that was our character, how she gets introduced, and then I really thought Cognazzo, they would go in the order of the Four Fiends, how they're released in 4. So seeing Barbariccia threw me a little bit. And I hope Rubicante is the last one, because if it's not, I'm going to be very disappointed. The trials were both great. I've told everyone that if you want help with your normal mode, I will be there, because that fight is a lot of fun, normal and extreme. I've never been so hyped for a normal mode trial. I'm like, yeah, let's do it again. And yeah, it was great.
I think you're probably going to be disappointed with Rubicante being the last one. I think the way they've teed this up or teased it, they didn't say it explicitly, but I think the way they've teased it in the MSQ, Rubicante is next. Rubicante is next. Well, I mean, but they're kind of working together. Anyway,
kind of working together.
Anyway.
He can kind of push Cognazzo in front of him.
Yeah.
I think you're going to get another one as a dungeon boss. I think Cognazzo is going to be
too.
a dungeon boss, and then
I think so
Rubicante
too.
is going to be. And then
I
that
think
way,
that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then that way you have the dragon and Golbez as the last 2 trials.
Yep, I agree. I think that's the way they're going to do it. Cognazzo as the dungeon boss, and Rubicante as the trial in 6-3.
Because there's no way they just used that dungeon theme one time, right? That dungeon boss thing? No way that's a one-off. It's impossible.
What do you give it, Kronos?
I'm right there with you guys. 9. I almost want to give it a 9.5 just because I think the trial's so good. But I'm probably right there with a 9. Yeah.
Next up, Pandemonium. The 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th rings of Abyssos. Okay. We already knew Proto Carbuncle was the first boss.
Yep.
This is another one where I don't exactly think the bosses and who they are is very spoilerific. No. There weren't like any big surprises in who different bosses were. So, yeah, we're not going to spend too much time on names. I do not want to talk about the story, though, as far as story beats there, because I think there are some spoilers in that story. Mm-hmm. As far as motivations and characters that you're interacting with and why they're there and why they say certain things. So, gentlemen, we'll stay away from that, and we'll just kind of look at this as the 4 boss fights themselves, like execution, mechanics, and everything. And then we'll wrap this up with your thoughts now that you've basically gone the week, Kronos and Tark, on Savage coming next week. You know, what did you guys think of this time first out, not having Savage on day 1? And I'll share some of my feedback as well. Okay. I got to say, these 4 circles, normal modes, were absolute pushovers on my side. I don't know if you saw the same. I pugged every single one of them. Back to back, I had 1 wipe the entire time. I just pugged with different groups all 4 times. 1 wipe. 1 almost wipe, I guess I should throw in there as well. An LB3 that we already had banked, helped us finish it, but it was 6% or so when we LB3'd. So I loved all 4 fights, some more than others. There are some very interesting mechanics that I can't wait to see how they are expounded on in Savage. But as far as the regular content, I think if you liked that gear when you saw the pictures and you were worried about it being locked behind normal mode, whatever's going to be locked behind the gear that's locked behind normal, I don't think you have to be all that worried about it. I don't think you can get carried in these very, very easily, I think. That doesn't mean I didn't enjoy them, but I did think these were a little on the softer side, Kronos.
Yeah, I don't really ever think these are that hard, but you're not wrong in saying that, like, it's really hard for, like, a party wipe to occur. The 3rd fight's the one I feel like most people struggled on the most. Where you just have a lot of death, but then you just raise people, and then, I mean, it might be a 15-minute encounter, but the boss dies. Because there's no rage in normal mode. You don't have to really worry about that. But I liked it. I thought all the bosses were really cool. I'm also interested to see how they expand upon stuff in Savage. Yeah, I mean, without talking about any of the story stuff, I mean, just the fights, I thought the fights were pretty cool.
I like the gaze mechanic, the way it was used here, too. In like the 2 rings of gaze going in certain directions.
Yeah, they use that in Troya, too. So
yeah, they use it in Felcourt as well. I really liked that, where it's not just face away from the boss or face away from a side of the arena. You have to pay attention to where those things are going. I actually did like P7. I agree with News Girl. I think P7 was my favorite. That's the big tree that you have seen in videos or in screenshots. Yeah, I don't know. Tark, I just like I enjoyed it, but I just kind of lukewarm about him.
Yeah, I think it is a smudge of a step up from the last set. P5, let's just say your thought about it being hard to wipe. P5, I think I did 24 raises in that fight.
Oh my god.
Got all 7 comms. So that was awesome. But yeah, like 24 raises because people just were not understanding the whole reflect shield that we saw in the live letter. Once you see that, that's like the main mechanic, and once you figure that out, it's pretty easy. The dooms and the ads from the second fight, the P6, she was kind of unmemorable. Got through that with pretty much no big problems. 7 is where, yeah, I think people are having the most issues. I myself, on the anything that changes the arena, I'm in favor of because I love shifts in arenas. So I was one that missed the first transition into the triangle. Let's just say I was like, you see a glowing circle, you're like, oh, I should get off of that. Yeah, that was a bad call. I did not fall for the safe spot in the middle one. That's been hilarious to see people just fling themselves like, oh, this is the safe spot. Yes, like
there's an audio cue and a dialogue line there.
I know, it's amazing. They're like, oh, safe spot, go. Wee! Oh, there they go.
That's awesome.
There's no floor there.
I walked out
that.
of these 4 though, just kind of thinking I'm really interested in what you're going to do with Savage.
Absolutely.
Because I liked these enough. They were fun, and obviously we'll beat them a few more times to pick up some different pieces and stuff like that. That's fine. I don't mind, going and doing these a couple more times, but it did kind of pave the way for, I wonder where you're going with Savage. And as far as the story goes, we're not going to talk about the story, but when it ended, I was kind of like, we still have one more series of raids, right? Like, like it just kind of ended, and you're like, what? Well, like there was no cliffhanger or anything. Then you have to go back and talk to your own people, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, okay,
there's the
all right,
cliffhanger.
there's the cliffhanger. And I was like, seriously, we're done? Like, you guys do know we need a 9, 10, 11, and 12, right? Oh, there it is.
I knew something was up, because at the very beginning, he's like, I got to go find this crystal all by myself. I'm like, okay, well, that's setting something up for down the road. And then they kind of pay it off.
That's like classical horror movie trope. I'll be right back. Yeah. So
but I love the callback.
Right.
I love the callback to a Konami game of fame.
Yep.
With that, so more Konami funds, yay.
Kronos, what do you think now that you've played the regular stuff for 3 days now? You got a few more days before Savage is going to come out. Are you in favor of this 1 week delay, or would you rather have them launching at the same time?
I'm still 100% in favor. Anybody that thought the market was going to crash is insane, because if you look at the prices, the gear is not cheap.
Nope.
Also, it's a little bit harder to craft too. I've crafted some of them, but no, I think they did a good job with that stuff. Oof. The only thing that I think they need to figure out is, because it really seems like there's no maintenance next Tuesday, and I have seen some things.
Yep.
They got to tackle the data mining problem if they're going to do this for Savage. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Okay.
I think this week thick break is actually, I think it's really good. You let people enjoy the stuff that's in the game. So they're not, so like the Savage Raiders aren't just like rushing to get to Savage as soon as possible. So I think it's all great. I think having that extra week to prepare is great. I just think everything's good except for, if you're not going to have the extra maintenance, you got to tidy that up. You can't have people data mining Savage assets. It's the only thing.
Tark?
I'm absolutely 100% in favor. Just being able to relax, do the MSQ, do my normal mode at my own pace, the trial, extreme, weapon having a valid point, and the time to go get it, for all those world first raiders, I think is pretty cool. Danny mining is bad though, so they need to not put that in the game then until it's actually ready to be done.
Tataru's Grand Endeavor, I still don't give a rat's ass. Like, I just don't care.
It's the one thing I haven't done.
It's two little quests. I just don't understand why they're
It's not
piecemealing
two.
this out.
It's only one.
Is it only one?
Yeah. The other quest that's listed there is Tales of Newfound Adventure, which is what I was referencing earlier in Razadhan. Go talk to the Radiant Scout. You just can't do it until you've finished 6.2 MSQ.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, Soaring Prophets
That's
is
just
the only Tataru Grand Endeavor.
I don't get it. I just don't get it why they're doling out one quest, two quests at a time. It's stupid.
Yeah, not a fan. Not a fan. Not a fan. And then, of course, the last biggie thing is Island Sanctuary. And ironically, it is the thing that I have had the least amount of time to mess with. I think I'm Island Sanctuary rank 4 or 5, so you guys are probably a little ahead of me on this one.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I have finished all the tutorial stuff, and that's all done. My basic structures are built, so I know what I'm doing, and I'm off doing my own thing now. I'm not following any more quests, but this is the feature that I thought that I would probably dabble in enough to get the minions that I wanted, and then maybe that would be it. And for me, it is still that. It is still that. It is a bit more interesting and relaxing than I thought it was going to be. I'll give it that. I could see, like, I don't feel like running dungeons or anything tonight. Let me just put on Netflix and just do Island Sanctuary shit. I could definitely see me doing that occasionally. So maybe it got me a little more than I thought it would, but at the end of the day, I still think this is going to be right up there with other things where I do it far enough to get my minions and then I'm out. Has it pulled you in any more than you thought it was going to, Krotos?
I mean, I'm there for the mounts primarily.
Right.
I'm going to be there for a bit, I think, because the mounts are not cheap.
Nope.
The minions also aren't cheap too. Like, you're gonna be there for a minute getting those minions.
Oh yeah, and you don't want to spend the stuff
because
early.
because if you spend the stuff,
don't
it
do
will
it.
prevent you from progressing.
Yeah. PSA, exactly. Do not. As soon as you can afford a minion or a mount, don't. No. Go. It'll be much faster in the long run for you to upgrade a few things first.
So
and use your currencies on that. Tark shaking his head. Did you buy some minions?
I had 4,000 and there was a minion for 4,000. I'm like, I scooped that up right away, right? Yeah. You're with all the time gating. You need that currency. Why they couldn't explain that the currency that you're getting is also needed to be reinvested back into your Island Sanctuary? Maybe a little bit more clearly, I would have, held on. I'm stuck at rank 5. I know people that are like rank 8. But because
I'm rank 8.
Yeah, there we go. So I'm stuck at rank 5 waiting for my crafts to, be completed and sold, so I can get the challenge log and have enough to progress. It sucks. Oh my God. Don't spend your calories.
Congrats on your minion. Yeah, I don't know. Tark, are you enjoying it? I mean, besides making that type of mistake and now staring down a grind, but setting that aside.
I am enjoying it. I like the shiny hunting. Again, I'm gated right now on calories, so I need to upgrade my pen. Can't do that yet. But I love the shiny hunting. I love the progression of materials that you can get with you going up in rank and getting different tools. I love the self-sufficiency of the island. I mean, that's the kind of the point of it. I've explored the entire island to see what I can get. I don't rely on the map to show me where to gather. I've had to really go out and look around to find out, okay, this is where I go to get my vines. Okay, this is where I go to get my copper. Because sometimes the where the map is showing you is not the best place. I also think the crafting system, being able to set things up for 2 weeks in advance, is kind of interesting. It's like they're setting up a system where you're hurry up, and now wait, and hurry up, and now wait. So, I mean, overall, I give it a B plus. I think it's cool content. I screwed myself by spending those calories. I'm sad.
Yes, you did. Kronos?
Yeah, I'm having definitely more fun with them than I thought. But I've also always kind of enjoyed gathering, and this is kind of just like gathering on crack. But it's like
it's a lot of it.
But it's like way more fun than like Diadem. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I like it. I've already kind of hit the wall where like even though I didn't spend my stuff, I'm kind of waiting. Also even though you can plan stuff a week out, just FYI, you need to pay attention to like the supply and demand of products, which changes. I think
if you want to maximize your profits, yes.
Yeah, and I think that's going to become very important if you want to get those amounts of minions. Because if you just make like potions and fire sand, which is what people were doing at the beginning,
long time,
you're going to get like maybe 300 a day, and that's not a lot. So, I'm not clear on the math and how everything works out yet. I'll probably know more tomorrow when my stuff comes back.
It's all being torn down right now by Final Fantasy 14 players to see where. I mean, I'm showing you right now they've already mapped the entire area as far as what resources can be found where. If you're looking for something in particular, that happened within 24 hours. Like So all of the math and everything is going to be broken down. Much of it probably already is if you're wanting to look it up. But over the next week, I think it's a good stepping stone. I want to see where they go with it from here. Like, is this a feature they intend to expand in certain ways going forward? Besides more of like what we've seen with the Manderville Gold Saucer and other things, right? Where it's just like, hey, we drop new mounts and minions at a couple different vendors. Here you go. Or with the bicolor gems from Fates, right? You know, they just kind of, there's no minion at this particular vendor, and then in a patch there is. Is it going to be that where just things are added and it becomes a constant farm? Or are there going to be like actual features once every, major expansion cycle, once every 3 patches? Like, what is the long-term plan with this content? It'll be interesting to see where they take it.
I agree. I really hope they flesh it out. Really give it some meat on the bones for progressing, because once you hit 10 and you've got all the calories, like, you don't really need to go back because there's not going to be there anything. I don't think that's going to fill 8 months worth of content, because they said every 2 patches they hope to have everything. So I feel islands are going to die once people get what they want from it. But it's a good start.
Anything else in the patch notes before we hit the last couple of things here? Any of the job tweaks that you want to talk about, or any of the PvP changes? I mean, new season and all that stuff, but
I have two.
Go ahead.
Astro and their card and redraw. Absolutely tremendous change. Just the slightest little tweak. I think it's funny that they undid Dragoon's jump and Mirage, but then they did the flip to Astro. So I'm like, okay.
They're both kind of weird. So a lot of Astros are actually complaining about the minor arcana change now.
The accidental double tap.
Because you can there's 3 problems. You can accidentally double tap. You can't see the cooldown when your Lord or Lady is drawn. And you can no longer double weave minor arcana and Lord and Lady in your light speed window because it's the same button. Which is the same reason people kind of wanted the Dragoon change, but it wasn't really that big of I think the Dragoon change was much better as one button, but it's fine if they want to keep it too. But I think the Astro change, they might have to take a look back at that, honestly. The redraw change is perfectly fine, I think. But
I'm going to guess the answer to this on Kronos and my side is no, and it's probably no on your side too, Tark, but I think being a controller player, it has more likely a chance of being yes. Have you messed with the new combo configurations?
Configurations?
Yeah, where the one ability shifts into the other one.
You mean like looking at the compact view and
Yes. I
the
couldn't
action?
remember. Compact. Yes.
I mean, I've looked at it, but I mean, it's just I know what my combos are, so I didn't really mess with it.
That was the only thing that I thought you might want to mess with is because you play on a controller, limited buttons, that type of thing. But I also was like, he probably isn't, because the muscle memory is probably so ingrained on where everything is that
Yeah.
he's probably just like, I'm going to keep it as it is.
But yeah, the biggest thing, at least for the battle stuff, the Gunbreaker changes are pretty nutty. They're pretty insane. The Holos change is probably the
That was
most
my
ridiculous change in the patch.
That puts Sages on par with Adlo spread.
Yes and no. That's one off global button, by the way. Adlo spread is a GCD and then a wait and then an off global. It's a little different.
It's a little different, but I mean, as far as
that button
efficacy.
that button is ridiculous now.
Yep, Holus is so strong.
Oh, also, not to mention, Holus is also Mitt on top of the shield now.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a really good button.
Shield, Mitt, all good.
I didn't think they were going to nerf anything. It was kind of funny that Dark Knight got like a slight buff, but I didn't expect them to nerf anything anyways. And then the crit DH stuff is still kind of being worked out, but it seems like, from my understanding, it's a flat damage buff to the auto crit direct hit buttons now, based on the percentage of crit that it gives you. So like, Chain Stratagem's basically a 5% buff, which is pretty insane to those buttons. So like your Madari, and it's additive. So if you have like a Dancer and a Scholar, your Madari is going to hit really hard.
Yeah. Have you guys read up anything more on the Machinist change with the
It's
Queen
terrible.
and the turret?
It's terrible.
Like it's so confusing.
It's really bad.
It's so okay. I shouldn't say terrible. It essentially like lets them burst a little easier because it's more controlled in how long the mech's out. But the mech is like the least interesting part of the job, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think maybe they were banking on like the reassemble change with the crit direct hit stuff being more effective, but the mech change is basically negligible. It's like a nice thing, like a nice quality thing, but it's not really a damage buff, and they're still hurting.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of it doesn't hurt you now if you have more than 50 gauge and you use it.
Well, it didn't hurt you before, but it just lasted longer. So you had to kind of plan out. It's more about raid buffs now. So now when you hit it, even if it's like capped, it just scales. The timer's always the same, but the damage scales based on your battery. So it'll be a lot easier now that the timer is consistent to get all your hits of your mech in the raid buffs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking it was. It was just weird to see it the way it was laid out. It's just
it's kind of terrible that it's the only change. Honestly, it makes me think like I don't know what they're doing with that job, but we'll see.
Not in the patch notes. Well, in the patch notes, they talked about the kind of reworking for a few Heavensward pieces of content as far as using Trust. Okay, fine, great. But not in the patch notes there was actually a dialogue change and voiceover change to a pivotal scene in Heavensward that puts a little more sadness into my heart. I don't know about you. But Hiroshfont, that death got to all of us. And often, including Square Enix, and Yoshi P, they've poked that bear. Because people want to know how, why couldn't that just be healed? Like particularly if your character was a white mage, right? You're like, well, my character's a white mage. There's actually a change to Alphino's dialogue now in that scene where he references fully voiced saying how the wound is too deep and it refuses to mend, trying to tie that to Final Fantasy lore in that heal and cure spells only work on wounds that could naturally heal anyway. So, yeah, rub a little salt in the wound, I guess. Not in the patch notes, but if you want to see it, it is fully voiced. You can go check it out if you want to shed a tear again.
And there's another change too. There's some more dialogue with the Shadowbringers NPC and with Uno Kalhai if you finish the MSQ. So definitely go check those little pieces out as well.
I don't know if I like retroactive changing of dialogue and stuff. Particularly in a game that like wildly encourages you to just play one character.
I think typically it only changes after you finish certain stuff. So if like even as a new player, if you finish like X content and you go back to Unokalai, for example, he'll say something different, and once you finish it, you can go back and forth. But yeah.
Hey, remember when people got too much money back during the whole housing lottery thing, and Square Enix was just like, you know what, we're gonna open up a window for you to return it, but we'll let you know, and if you don't want to return it, you know, we're not gonna roll anything back. Forget it. We're just don't worry about it. Well, now they're trying to entice people to maybe return it. It's still voluntary. If you want to keep the gil, you can, but if you do return it, you get some snazzy posters for your house. So, Tark, are you keeping the gil, or are you getting some posters?
It depends on if it is a large, medium, or small. If it was a small, I'd keep the posters. Medium, I'm sorry, like 20-something million gil. Yeah, I'm going to keep the money. But they are really cute posters and kind of status symbols like, hey, you know, I got some posters that you guys don't. Very exclusive. Very exclusive.
Kronos, you giving the money back?
No.
Honestly, I was kind of like, that's really lame. Like, yeah, the posters are cute and everything, but I was like, if you really wanted to entice people to give the money back and you actually cared, it would be a better prize than this. They're cute and all, but there's like no reason, unless, like Tark, you said, unless you just want to be like, hey, I got those posters on my wall, to which I'm like, I don't fucking care.
I think people will do that, though. I think there will be people that, because like I think a lot
there
of people,
will be, yeah.
A lot of these people that have houses, they have like, some of them have like 500 million gills. So like, what's 30 mil? You know.
Well, and if it was a minion, I'd give the money back. But
yeah, same.
But I didn't get any of the money either. So I was asked out of both of these because I didn't take part in a housing lottery. Tark, have you won a house yet?
No, still have not won a house.
All right, moving on to non-Final Fantasy 14 related stuff. Then we got 10 minutes of Forspoken actual gameplay. Yesterday,
so
or the
much
day
better
before?
than the Twitter ad.
Yes,
So
so
much better
this
than
this
Twitter.
goes into, with voiceover, kind of like a tour almost, using gameplay of cities, of open world content. They show off traversal mechanics and how you get around. It is not segmented. They're not like, hey, here's combat and let's talk about that. They kind of like tell a mini story and just showcase those things as you go around. Over 100 some abilities / magic in the game. I mean, I gotta say, I agree with you, Tark. This was Forspoken's best showing for me, for me personally. We'll get to whether or not it sells it to me or to anybody else, but as far as everything we've seen, this was the best video showcase of Forspoken that we've gotten so far. I thought the traversal looked great. Like, it was smooth, it was fast, it was you covering huge swatches of land very quickly, climbing, swinging. It looked like, you could do a lot of things in the environment. Combat was kind of hit and miss for me. It depends on what was being fought and what abilities were being used. I will say I hate the HUD. I don't like how it's minimalistic, which I'm in favor of, but I don't like when they try to do that stylized 3D angle, right? Okay. Where instead of just something being on your HUD like this, they try to put it on your HUD like this, so it looks like it's got a 3D effect. And then when you go to the menu for like equipment and stuff, it looks like that menu is actually laying on top of a sphere. I didn't like that. It kind of has this like walleye effect. I'm sure you'll see it in the B-roll here. But best showcasing of Forspoken to date in my book. Kronos, what do you think when you check this out?
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely the best that the game's looked. It kind of reminds me of like Spider-Man when she's moving around.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else got that vibe, but that's not a bad thing, by the way. That game's great. But yeah, just I don't know. Even like her little like mannerisms and stuff reminded me a lot of like Spider-Man. How she's swinging, how she walks, like almost like a carbon
surprise
copy.
Me if they took that as a template.
Yeah. But no, I think this definitely looks a lot better. I'm definitely a little bit more interested. I don't know if I'm 100% sold yet, but we can talk about that more. But the game, I mean, I was impressed by the trailer. It's definitely 100 times better than the Twitter thing they released.
Oh my God, that Twitter thing was awful.
Yep. That was awful.
Tark, did it do anything for you? Has it moved it up to a day one?
Not yet. We're still 5 months away. And there's a lot of Square Enix between here and then. But it definitely moved the needle up. You know, it's been going down and down and down and down. So finally they did something that made my needle move up. So I'm now in that 50-50 range. It looks really good. The traversal, the swinging. I got flashbacks of Sekiro when she's, you know, throwing her leash and swinging around. I like the combat. It's a lot more RPG than I thought it was going to be. I like elemental vulnerabilities. My one question is going to be how easy is it to hot swap into other abilities? Are they going to kind of do a time slow mechanic as you're hot swapping? Because if you're in the middle of a frenetic fight and most of them look pretty frenetic, it's going to be difficult if they don't give us some sort of pause to hop swap abilities on the fly there.
So Square Enix did something to you that made your needle go up, huh?
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Can we just say, by the way, that I absolutely love the voice actress in Forspoken? Absolutely.
She's
she's the character model too.
She's in the show that I watch actually as a live action actress in a comedy show.
Absolutely love Gross. Absolutely love her. Oh, and jumping back to Final Fantasy XIV, our special character that we get to name in the MSQ, the voice actress is amazing as well. Voice actress is
she nailed the emotion that she portrays.
Yes, yeah. I'm still doubtful on Forspoken, but I feel a little better in this footage. It was by far the best thing that they could do, so we'll get to see a little more, probably at Tokyo Game Show. I know they're going to be doing a lot of VR at Tokyo Game Show, but we haven't really seen what else they're doing at Tokyo Game Show yet. Square Enix, this is really weird for me to kind of think about. Square Enix could be, they filed a trademark to open a studio, and the trademark was filed in Canada for a Studio Onoma. And so that studio is going to primarily design, develop, and publish computer and video game software. So it's kind of like we sold off all of our Western studios to go ahead and open a new one. Like I don't know.
I don't understand it. I just don't. Like if you're having problems with your Western studios, like reorganize them. You know, find staff that's gonna get done what you want to get done. Those IPs are valuable, especially Tomb Raider. Like they did nothing with Soul Reaver. That I feel is an amazing IP that just has not gotten any sort of love. They sold it for a song, and now they're going to make a new studio that has no history backing IPs. So I am totally and utter baffled.
They also said it's going to be involved in like merchandising, and specifically they pointed out like action figures and statuettes and things like that. So like we don't know exactly what they're going to do with this studio. It just seems a little weird to sell your Western studios for basically a song and a dance.
Maybe a Western hub finally to, you know, get our materials so we're not shipping from Japan every single time we want to get a statue or a book.
Yeah, you're dreaming, buddy.
I was thinking it was probably just a studio to fix their crappy PC ports.
You're dreaming too, buddy. They have no intention of fixing those. Two more things, one of which is in the show notes. The other one I got to throw in you guys spur of the moment and see what you think. Apparently, we have Nintendo to thank for our Live Alive remake.
Cool.
Nintendo reached out to Square and said, hey, we would love to release that on Virtual Console. Can we release it, this old game? And Square said, well, if you're interested, hell, let's make a remake and sell it ourselves.
God, that's such a Square thing to do, to be honest.
It is. Totally is. One thing I do want to throw in here very quickly. The PlayStation 5, we have talked about this on Gaming Gumbo last week or the week before, no, 2 weeks ago, many weeks ago, actually, because I forget we had those couple of weeks off.
Yeah.
Where PlayStation, during a financial conference call, would not confirm or deny that they may increase the price of the PlayStation 5. Today it was announced that Sony is increasing the price of the PlayStation 5 basically everywhere but the United States. So Europe, Japan, everywhere, Brazil, like they're all getting price hikes. And obviously we predicted that on Gaming Gumbo. It was like when they wouldn't say no, the answer was yes.
Yes.
They just wouldn't say it. Xbox has retorted now saying they have no plans to raise the price of the Series S or X. Why am I bringing it up here? Obviously, we're going to talk more about it on Gaming Gumbo. I'm bringing it up here because Japanese Twitter is on fire right now when it comes to Final Fantasy 16 and Japanese players literally begging Square Enix for Final Fantasy 16 to also release on PC, not a year and a half, 2 years later, a la, Final Fantasy 7 remake, because of the price increase and lack of availability of the PlayStation 5. I wish I could say there's going to be better news. It just ain't going to happen. I just don't see Square Enix caring. I mean, that's mean to say. I'm sure there are individuals in the company that care very much and feel for you. As a corporate entity, tough. That money's already paid and done, and we're like 8 months from release. You ain't getting a PC version, and that sucks. That sucks.
It does.
Let's slide over and do Love It or Leave It. Love It or Leave It is the way we end every episode of the Relic Grind here. It's where I give you something Square Enix related. Could be a game, a PR move, something in a press release, something they did, and you tell me whether you love it, want more of it, leave it, throw it away. No fence sitting here. It's all black or white, warrior of light, warrior of darkness here. Tark, Forspoken's actual gameplay, not whether you like it, love it, or going to buy the game. We've already talked about that. But the gameplay, with what we know so far, you have to make a call. Love the gameplay, leave the gameplay.
No fence sitting. With what we know, I'm going to say love it. My only apprehension again is the hot swapping abilities. I'm hoping that there's more interactions with the elementals abilities, like fire and ice, melting, exploding, whatever. It didn't seem like there was anything like that. It just seemed to be all damage based, and what the effects do to you. I'll pop you up in the air and whatnot. But I love the frenetic pace of it, and yeah, I'm gonna put a love it on it.
Kronos.
This is tough for me because I did think it was an improvement. But I'm gonna say leave it just because I still feel like it looks. See, we talked about this last week where like Square Enix is complaining they're not trendsetters, and I don't think this game is setting any trends. I think it looks nice, I do, but I don't think this gameplay. It's like an amalgamation of a couple things that we've already seen, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But I want to see more in how it's like its own kind of unique thing and not just carbon copies of other stuff. And I feel like that's kind of what it is right now. And if it becomes more unique, then I can be sold on it. So I'm gonna say leave it, but it is tough. I guess I don't think it looks particularly bad.
I don't think it looks particularly like I don't look at it and have Babylon's Fall emotions.
Oh
right?
God,
no, absolutely not.
But I don't look at it going, I got to pick this up. I'm just not there yet. If I'm just talking about the gameplay and what we know so far, I got to make the call now. I think I lean slightly into the leave it side. This trailer pulled it up there, though, because prior to this and everything we knew about gameplay was based on some videos that never should have been released to the public. and I was way down on it. I was like, I'm not even interested in this anymore. This trailer did an awful lot. It's almost pulled me back to, okay, I'm going to buy it, but maybe not on day one. Not quite. So I think I still got to leave it, but I am on the border, like the borderline of loving it from a gameplay perspective. Maybe the story sucks. Maybe the music's awful. Like, well, we don't know. But from a gameplay perspective, what we know so far, I'm still going to leave it, but I'm damn close. So we kind of have all three here today. All three. Let us know what you think in the comments below on YouTube or over on ReadyCheckRadio.com. We'll, of course, be back Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern with Gaming Gumbo, our weekly gaming wrap-up show. and then the Relic Grind here next Thursday, and all of our streams in between, including Final Fantasy, the trading card game, live locals on Monday nights right here on the Twitch channel. Until then, Kronos, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, same as always, Twitter. I got like 7 new mounts I gotta get, so that'll be interesting. The DSR is getting close, and then I'm probably gonna be plugging some Savage next week, so we'll see how that goes.
Nice. Tark.
Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all at Tarkoth Gaming. I'm playing Final Fantasy 14 4 days a week, Tuesday through Friday. Then you can also catch me here on Ready Check Radio Saturday and Sunday night. What is that? 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, so really late at night. But we're playing Live Alive and having a lot of fun with it.
Did you do Distant Future?
Yes, got Distant Future, Wild West done, and China done. So,
were you emotionally tugged by Distant Future?
A little bit, yeah. Definitely some Aliens vibes there. But it was pretty Aliens and a Space Odyssey vibes there. But it was pretty good. Yeah, good first choice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Definitely check out the stream, particularly if you've never played the game. My name's Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there at Magic Man 1, but more importantly, follow at RC Radio, RAIDEO, and you'll be receiving a tweet every time we go live with a podcast or a stream, or we're just hanging out. Until next time, gang, it's been a lot of fun. Stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.